Hi, I'm Seebee, and this time I'm going to talk about how to make a paper strip, which is of course really easy, but the thing I'm going to do that makes it a little bit different than maybe what you're doing now is that we're going to make it a little bit crooked, so it's going to have a more handmade look than just drawing out your marquee tool and using that to make a rectangle. I like the way I said that, a rectangle. So I have here a couple of papers from my Party Elegance paper set here that I'm going to work with today, and I'm using CS4, Photoshop CS4, but this will work very similarly in Elements, and I'll try to remember what the differences are so that I can mention it as we go along. So the first thing I want to do is I'll mention the old way I was doing this uneven thing was to grab this polygonal I don't know how to pronounce it, this tool. I was grabbing this tool and would draw out a rather, whatever crazy shape I wanted. But I found that when it got to this point where I was joining these edges, I might have a little funny bend to it that I didn't like. It wasn't quite hitting it correctly. So I don't use that method anymore. Instead, what I do is I add a new layer here. That's the first step for getting this, because we're going to make a little template to work with. And I'm going to grab the rectangle marquee tool and draw out my rectangle. Just any way you want really will work. And I will fill this with, just in this case, black. Color doesn't really matter because, as I say, we're just using this as a template. But since I have black up, we'll use it. So Alt and Backspace, which is Option Delete on the Mac, and then I'm going to deselect by using the shortcut Control and D or Command and D. So I have this new rectangle on a new layer here that I'm going to work with. But of course, this is the thing with using the rectangle marquee is we've got an absolutely perfect, way better than I could ever cut without a machine tool of shape here to work with. So that's not going to work for what we're talking about, obviously. So I need to skew this, and that's exactly how I'm going to do it. I'm going to, in Photoshop here, I'll choose Edit, Transform, and then Skew. Now, I believe this is in a little bit of a different place in Photoshop Elements, that it's in, maybe in the Edit menu, but it may not be buried under Transform. You may just be looking, or maybe in the Image menu. You're looking to skew. So look for the Skew command, wherever that may be, which I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I can't remember. So I would just pull a corner any way you want here, work from the corners, and either pull in to go that way or out, or, you can just sort of mess it up a little bit any way you like, and then when you are done with it, you would hit the check mark if you have it. My check mark is, I've got my window kind of shrunk down right now, so I don't have my check mark available. That's just why you didn't see it. And now we have some little bit of a screwed up piece of paper template to work with here. Two ways to now get this to be the paper instead of just this black thing, and that would be to either take part of this by, let's see, we'll hold our Control key or Command on the Mac, hold it down, click on the thumbnail of this new template we've made, jump down to the paper layer, click on that once, and then hit Control and J or Command and J on the Mac. Now if I turn the visibility off here, you'll see it's perfectly, basically like you cut it out of the paper, just like in real life. The other way to do this, here I'll back up a few steps here, is that we will group it, make a clipping group out of the paper. So I'm going to drop this down here. It has to be below it now instead of above it. And now click on your paper layer. That's Control and G, or in the case of Photoshop here, it's Control, Alt, and G. And if you're using a Mac, that would be Command and G for Elements Mac, and Command, Alt, Option, G, I would believe, if you're using a Photoshop in Mac. So the only other thing is the drop shadow that I had created earlier on this paper is obviously not showing up on the strip because it needs to move down. Here, I'm just click and drag it down. I'm not sure you can do that in Windows, or not Windows, but Elements, but you can do it here in Photoshop, where you just can move the layer style. If you don't have a layer style yet, obviously that's what you're looking for. You got to go put a shadow on there so it shows up. But in any event, when you're doing your shadow and you're using the clipping group, just make sure you put your shadow on the template piece rather than on the paper so that it shows up. So I'm Seebee. I hope this has been helpful to give you something to help your layouts have a little bit more of that realistic paper look to it. And thanks for watching.